how's it going? This is Mike from M&R Automotive. Today we have a GMC Yukon and we're installing a 40-inch light bar. First things first, let's pop the hood. We're gonna go ahead and remove the latch first, so that way we can take off the top trim piece. And the latch is in the way, so we're gonna take out two of these Torx screws. We're gonna take out that plastic top cover, and we're going to reinstall the handle, because if you accidentally close the hood, it's going to be a hard time opening it. Happened to me before. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this here, and then I'm going to remove all these push pins. Now that we removed all the push pins, we can go ahead and just lift up the top and put it aside. Just like I mentioned before, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall this. So that way, in case, if we close the hood, it's not going to be a nightmare opening it. I remember last time I had to use a really long screwdriver to bypass the mechanism and unlatch it, but it's a lot easier to just reinstall the latch so you don't have to worry about it. Now let's go ahead and unscrew these 6 10mm bolts. Next thing we're going to do is inside the fender well, we're going to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to loosen the 3 bolts from the retaining clip that combine the fender and the bumper together. When we're separating the fender from the bumper, there's 3 bolts here. We're supposed to loosen these, but take this one out in order to be able to unhook these 3 pins and separate the 2 panels. It's a number 7 ratchet. Usually I loosen it with a ratchet and then take the actual head off and do the rest with my hands, just because it's a tight squeeze. So let me show you how I'm going to tackle this. So first one is the outer bolt. I get a few ratchets in here, and then if you see, I'm doing the rest by hand, and that's going to allow me to unclip it. So now I'm going to work my way into the second bolt, which is down the middle. It's hard to show to get the camera in here, but if you actually feel it, you can go on the top groove and just feel the bolts. One's on the outside, one's in the middle, and one's a little bit further in. So let me squeeze my ratchet in here. So now I'm working on the second one. There we go. And like I mentioned, we're not removing it, we're just getting it loose. And now the most furthest one. I think I got it. It is a tight squeeze. You got to feel the bolt and just ratchet it. I did get it loose with a ratchet, and now I'm just going to take off just the head and unscrew it with my fingers. Okay, now let's see if this is enough. So what we're going to do, we're just going to try to kind of lift it up and around the clips. There we go. See, and you can see I unclipped all the clips here. So we're going to do the same thing on the passenger side. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna take off these two bolts on each side. It's also a 7mm. Trying to remove the grill, seeing what bolts we have to remove. So a lot of it is clips. So I'm unclipping the sides. We can unclip these clips. There we go. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this rubber piece because this is going to interfere with the bracket from the light bar. These are just push pins.
Кажи, there's two push pins.
There's two, one on top, one on bottom. Okay, I'm going to take these out. There's 3 push pins that we're removing when taking off these rubber trim pieces. So we're going to go ahead and remove 3 push pins. There's one on top, one on bottom. Let's do a quick recap of what we've done. We removed the bare minimum to get this kit installed. If you want to remove more hardware, such as the bottom of the bumper, you definitely can, but it's not necessary. So to do a quick overview, we removed the bolts on top. We removed the bolts in the fender well. We loosened up these 3 bolts here, so that way this mounting plate went lower and we can unclip the top. We removed these 2 bolts on each side on the bottom. And we unclipped the front bumper and pulled it enough so that way we can install the light bar mounts onto this bolt. Okay, so let me show you how to do it. Let me go over the M&R hardware that you're going to receive with the kit. You do get a driver and a passenger side mount. They get installed like this. I'm going to show you exactly which bolt they mount up to. And it creates a rail system to install the light bars, so that way you can move the light bars up and down depending on the grille style that you have on your Yukon. So let me show you exactly which bolt we're going to be removing and installing, threading through this hole. In this installation, we're going to put one on the top rail, one on the bottom, depending on the grille that you have. You can potentially put even 2 light bars on the bottom or 2 light bars on top, so that use your own judgment of the obstruction of the grille and the design that you have. And just as a reminder, we did remove these rubber pieces. Do not reinstall them back. The brackets are going to interfere, so we're going to go ahead and put them to the side. So the bolt that we're going to be using is the bottom one. There's 2 bolts here. It's the mount for the headlight. We're just going to be removing the bottom one, threading it through the M&R bracket, and then reinstalling the same bolt. I'm going to use a large washer to feed the factory bolt through, and we're going to rethread it back into the same bolt. So watch me reinstall it. Now I'm going to go ahead and maneuver the bracket. Keep in mind we did have a cutout for this metal brace. So we're going to maneuver it around, turn it sideways, and then feed the bolt through the opening. I'm just going to finger tighten the bracket. After we install the light bars, we're going to go ahead and tighten them. And follow me, we're going to do the same thing on a passenger side. So out of the 2 bolts, we are going to the bottom one. Feed the large washer, and we are going to thread it through the M&R bracket, and we're going to maneuver it back inside. So I did finger tighten it. We're going to align the light bar in between the eyelids, and then we're going to tighten that bolt later on. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and squeeze this right behind the guardrail, and we're going to thread it with a spacer on the bottom of the rail on both sides. So that's one. I'm just gonna finger tighten it because once I like the positioning, I'm gonna do the final adjustments after. Don't make it super tight, but I gotta thread the bolt into the light bar so that way at least it holds, and then we'll adjust the positioning of the light itself. we're gonna go ahead and put the grill back on so that way we can check for the alignment. So here's the grill on, and we're gonna look through to see how we wanna center it. So I think we can put this side up a little bit. And it looks fairly level. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten it in this position. If you're happy with the alignment of the light bar inside the grill, we're gonna go ahead and tighten it. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the grill, peel it back a little bit, and then tighten the bolt. Okay, excellent. Now that we've installed the 140-inch light bar, we're gonna go ahead and install another. For the purpose of this video, we're gonna go ahead and put it on the top to show the different variation. So we're gonna go ahead and align the light bar. We're gonna feed the bolt with washer. On this side, we're gonna put the spacer, and we are going to finger thread the bolt into the light bar. So on this side, same thing. We're gonna slide the spacer, and the bolt is going to go inside the light bar. And let's see if this is a good location for it. So we do see that we have to lower the top light bar. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab it. Because it is finger tight, I can just go ahead and move it in the desired location. Depending on your grill type, you can use the slotted system to align your light bar. If you zoom in here, notice there's two tabs here. So this will help you center the light bar. These tabs actually go around the crash bar, but we're gonna go ahead and bring the light bar all the way down, and that way we know it's leveled. So now we can pop the grill. And do the final tie down. Okay, now that we have both of our light bars on, we can tighten these bolts that hold the M&R mount to the vehicle. Hey guys, now that we've finished with the mounting, let's talk about wiring. If you purchase a single function light bar, it's going to come with a wire with two wires in it, a black and a red. The red is the positive, the black is the ground. If you purchased our dual function light bars, you have an extra wire here, which is the blue wire. If you're connecting the dual function light bar, you're going to need two different power sources and a ground. What we're going to be using in this video, it's a 8-gang switch power system module. The beauty about this is it's wireless. M&R does not manufacture this wiring harness, but we're going to go ahead and put a link in the description. We used it on a couple of our projects and it was very easy to mount and install. The beauty about it is that because it's wireless, you don't have to run a wire inside the cab through the firewall. So everything gets connected to the battery, the light bars get connected to the module itself, and you get a keypad that you take inside the vehicle that is completely wireless and easy to use. Let's review what's included. You do get an instruction manual. You do get stickers for the remote itself, so that way it can remind you what buttons you're using. Inside, you get the remote itself. It does have a magnet on the back, so it's very easy to connect. At the main distribution box, this is where all the connections, the power and the ground, as well as all the accessories connect to. And you get a fuse. It is an 80 amp fuse with fairly thick wiring. First thing we're going to do is remove the top cover from the distribution box. So when we take the top cover off, let me go ahead and set it on the floor so that way I don't lose any bolts. Okay, so if you look at it inside, it does have 8 different fuses, 30s, 220s, 210s, and 2.5s. We'll probably end up using the 20 amps for the white lights, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw the Amber DRL function on a 5 amp fuse just because it barely draws anything. If you see, the quality of this device is pretty cool. Everything is epoxied in, so everything is nicely insulated. So here, I just take off the sticker, it's a positive terminal. This is the ground. So let's go ahead and connect the wiring. After loosening that bolt, I'm gonna go ahead and feed this wire through the bottom and right under the terminal. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and tighten it. We're gonna do the exactly same thing with the ground. We're gonna feed it under, loosen the terminal, and feed it under. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and feed this wiring from underneath. And we're going to use the 20 amp fuse. We're gonna loosen the screw here. Once you insert the wire, we're gonna go ahead and tighten it. And that's gonna crimp the connection. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing with the negative cable, because there is a positive and a ground. So now we have the main light power wire and the ground installed. The only thing we have left is the blue wire, which is the power wire for the Amber DRL feature. I'll go ahead and throw it on switch number 1 because it is a 5 amp switch and the DRL function barely draws anything. Okay, excellent. So now we're ready with one light bar. Before we connect the distribution box to the battery, we're going to go ahead and open that fuse. It's a safety precaution. So you take the protective cover off, and then you just have to pinch this, squeeze the sides, and you press this button. It's going to open up this fuse. So now there's going to be no power going there. So now it's safe to connect it to the battery. So I'm going to go ahead and use this bolt. I'm going to just release it. I'm not going to remove it all the way. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put my terminal underneath and tighten that same bolt. Now we can put the protective cover back on. So the power is done. Now we have to do the ground. So the ground, we're going to actually use this bolt here. We're going to remove this nut, or not remove it, but just loosen it, so that way we can put the terminal underneath it. Okay, we're going to put the terminal under and tighten it back up. I'm going to go ahead and turn the fuse back on. And if you remember how I did it, by turning the fuse back on is just putting this in line with the button. And then I'm going to put the protective cover back to configure the remote to work with the module itself. We got to press and cycle the 5th key, which is this one. 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you see, after doing it 5 times, it started flashing and now it lit on. Now this shows me that the remote is paired with the module. So now that we got everything connected, I want to show you how this remote works. And if you can see, it's cycling the Amber DRL. And if you press this button, it's turning on the white lights. Thank you guys for watching. And this is how you wire a single light bar with 2 different functions to the wireless control panel. Also, I wanted to mention I have a lot of questions in regards to what happens if both of them are on at the same time. Right now you have the power on the Amber, and the white, when it's turned on, it just overpowers the Amber DRL. But you can see the white being toggled on and off with Amber DRL being behind it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have an easy install and check out the light output video as well.